Hey, it's Paul with LSP Data, and wanted to continue my series on finding pre-foreclosures. And on this particular video, I want to have a bit of a use case surrounding Justice of Peace Court data, right? So, if you're not familiar with what Justice of Peace Court is typically a local trial court that handles minor civil cases, typically up to $20,000. And yeah, it's typically found in majority of counties across the U.S. So for my use case, we're always getting asked about pre-foreclosure opportunities, right? And for us, we tend to focus a lot of niche data, right? That's sort of our bread and butter as well. So yeah, so let's get to it. So from my point of view, I wanted to typically look into the foreclosure data, right? And obviously, once the foreclosed properties are published, you have up to 30 to 60 or 90 days, depending on your county, right? But everything that shows up, for example, this is Harris County, you can open the documents and figure out, the property information and when is it going to be, the sell date. Obviously, you can look at current ones to see where the which ones have just been filed, right? So what we did was we grabbed a list of all pre-foreclosed properties that obviously have been foreclosed in the past, and we ran it through a data set to identify, any characteristics or any, I guess, pointers that will lead a property going to foreclosure, right? And I'll touch on the Justice of Peace Court now, right? So how does it relate to this? Well, the Justice of Peace Court has a few interesting case types, like small claims, right? So someone is suing another person for a service that they didn't perform, etc., right? A lot of it could be contractor, right? And that may end up in liens, which may go into a different court. But for the sake of this, anything under 20,000 usually gets handled through this, right? The other bit is landlord-tenant disputes, so mainly tenant evictions, right? And as you know, multiple tenant evictions. So let's say you have a landlord who has to raise multiple evictions throughout the year because he or she is not getting paid. Well, that eventually becomes a tired landlord, right? And a lot of times they just want to get the property off their hands because they dealt with so many issues, right? I've had to deal with some issues myself with some Airbnb properties, and eventually becomes too much of a headache to deal with, right? And the other bit is the debt claims, right? Similar to this, but in this particular one, I'm referring to mainly consumer debt, right? So think of credit card companies, think of appliances that people may purchase, and for some reason or another, you fall behind on payments. So a bit of a use case. So here's a quick scenario, right? Where, again, the data doesn't lie, so we can go back in time up to maybe 90 days or further, right? Let's say a debt collector company sues a homeowner for a specific amount, and during that time as well, the person, maybe they are having financial issues, so they can't pay for the appliances that they, are paying for on a monthly basis, and they may also fall behind mortgage payments. So at some point on the county clerk, you may see a notice of trustee. So if you look at my last video, that's where I touch on the county clerk documents, and that's where this type of information would come up. But for the sake of this video, for the Justice of Peace Court scenario, you will have different plaintiffs that are basically trying to get their money back, right? And a lot of times, I'll show you here in a bit, but a lot of those plaintiffs are debt collectors, right? Or whatever, say, Con sold the debt to another debt collector, and they tend to be a little bit more aggressive. But from our data points, right, we start seeing that this is the kind of cases that come up. And again, just to kind of summarize what we're talking about, first we went and found a list of all of foreclosed properties, right? Then we ran it against the data for the Justice of Peace Court. So this is kind of like test data, right? And we start noticing different kinds of cases, right? So in this case, debt claim and eviction were the primary ones. There's some called small claims. And here I'm hiding the personal identifying information. But as you can see, this is the companies that start popping up, right? And if I run that, this is almost 1 year's worth of data, and we can see that a lot of them are LV&V funding, portfolio recovery. So if you do a quick Google on a lot of those are basically, this ones here are basically debt collectors, right? So at this point, whatever consumer debt you may have, whether it's credit cards or auto loans, etc., that is already sold. And basically, these companies are the ones that are going to go after you, and including, appliances or other banking kind of services as well. So this gives you an idea of how many times these companies go after people for paying off debt, right? And unfortunately, because these are basically trends that we're noticing, right? Kind of built a bit of a high confidence indicator, right, of using those companies that you just saw, right? And in this case, we're looking at situations in which the judge date already happened. So it was judged in favor of these companies, and it gives you the amount as well, right? So some of them, very little amount, but again, if they've been sued multiple times, that may add up. And so as you can see, some of them 11,000, 17,000, right? So it varies quite a bit, right? So at that point, the individual is truly in distress. And again, add that to, person being having some sort of lien or tax delinquencies or any other motivation factor, and you have someone who may be truly motivated, right? So just wanted to show you a bit of that use case. In the next videos, I'll focus on other examples, but this is the kind of data insights that we get for just being able to compare past foreclosures to some of the data sets that we put together over the years. And I just thought it was interesting enough to share. The last bit here is, again, just kind of summarizing this, right? The point of this is that typically a lot of you will pull a long list and call everyone, right? Absentee owners, you probably have your own criteria that work for you. But again, the results may vary because individuals may not have enough motivation, right? Or whatever the case may be. For us, right, we try to make things easier. So as we're collecting better data, a lot of times you'll be able to access similar information here. So for example, if you're logging into our platform, some of the data that I discussed is going to be found here, and it makes it easier for you to filter on specific kind of criterias. And obviously once you can sort by date, right? So if you want to focus on some that are very recent, you can do that. If you want to apply any other kinds of criterias as well, you can do that. And it's just as easy as exporting, right? Again, not going to show people's name or anything, but as I showed you in the past, it has all the relevant information for you to export it and then skip trace it. And it makes it very easy to sort of find more targeted criteria that you may be interested, right? And that's it. Yeah, if just as a reminder, this is our platform, LSP Data. You can sign up for the entire state, and that gives you access to all these counties as well. We are expanding nationwide in the future. For now, we're prioritizing Texas, Florida, Arizona, and a few other ones. But obviously, if you have any requests, feel free to send them to us. We are nationwide as well. The data may vary, but obviously we'll work with you at an individual level, and that's what kind of customers like about us, is that we can get very niche, and obviously we know what we're doing. So, and you get a personal touch, so that helps out quite a bit. And again, you sign up for a 7-day trial, or again, you can sign up for a state subscription or individual subscription. Individual subscriptions are $99 a month, and state subscription is $249 a month, but it gives you access to the entire state or counties. As always, you can enter discount code LSP Data to apply a 7-day trial. And that's it. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions or clarifications, leave them in the comments. And yeah, if this is helpful, please like. That way the videos can showcase to other folks as yourself. And thank you for watching.